Today's Suit Up Sports is brought to you by Neogenics, Charlotte's #1 when it comes to stem cells and regenerative therapy. I'm not saying that because that's what I'm supposed to say. I'm saying that because I've lived it. So is Frank. Nico over at Neogenics is taking care of us. I've had stem cells in my arm. I've had it in my knee. I've had it in my shoulder. You've had it in your back.
Buddy, you ain't lying when you're talking about Neogenics as a life support for us as older guys. Weekend warriors.
Yep.
If you're looking to, kind of replenish your body and get that 30-something filled back, Neogenics is the place for you. I know a lot of Panther players used it. I used it, got my lower back done.
Yep.
And the best thing about them, buddy, is that they will tell you exactly what it is that you need to do. And they might not be able to help you.
And if they can't treat you, they won't treat you.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's any nagging joint pain, shoulder, neck, back, knees, any of those things, they'll treat it. They do stem cells, they do PRP. And like Frank said, they do a lot of athletes from Thomas Davis to Harold Varner Jr. to Matt Doherty. And I can go to Tony Womack, baseball all-star. It works, and they're honest, like Frank said. Some of their competition they'll treat you just to take the money, whether they know it's going to work or not work. These guys are only going to work with you if they know they can help you. 704-727-6551. That's 704-727-6551 or neogenicstemcells.com. You see it on the bottom scroll of our show, neogenicstemcells.com. Tell them DJ and Frank sent you.
Check them out, bud.
This is Suit Up Sports.
Suit Up Sports.
Where opinions are as sharp as a tailored suit. No fluff, no gimmicks, just unfiltered, hard-hitting takes on sports and a whole lot more. It's time to suit up. Now here's your host, DJ the Suit Stout.
They didn't run, the RPOs that they run now. The offense that when we played back then in the early 2000s, late 90s, was you threw the ball in the middle, you're going to get your head knocked off. Today, it's a completely different game.
Yep.
You can throw the ball over the middle. You can't touch receivers. You can't hit quarterbacks. RPOs and running quarterbacks are amongst us because of guys like Michael Vick and guys like Cam Newton, who I also mentioned in this conversation as well. They have changed the game and the way the game is played. Right. And Lamar Jackson is a very good player. I'm not trying to take anything away from Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson, I promise you, isn't Michael Vick. Michael Vick is the most explosive player to play that position ever. He ran a 4.2, in a 40-yard dash. And he's been recorded at a 4.2, which is faster than any player in NFL history. And he played the quarterback position. He wasn't the most accurate guy in his era, but the offenses were traditional drop back, run the ball, drop back, stay in the pocket, throw the ball down the field. There wasn't plays designed for quarterbacks like there is now. He might had a quarterback sweep or something like that with a handoff with a guy like, Wart Dunn, and he had Tony Gonzalez, but the offenses were completely different. And now if he were to play in today's football, the talent difference is, I think, immeasurable with the amount that that Vick has way more talent than Lamar Jackson does.
See, I still lean Lamar Jackson, but I do agree that
why?
Because I think that Lamar is, if not as good of a runner as Michael Vick, I think he's definitely in the ballpark. And I think that he is a more accurate passer. I do agree with you that the way that they call the game these days does make it more.
Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson hits 5-yard passes and uses play action to a tight end with a running game like Derrick Henry in the backfield.
Yeah, he's only had Henry he's always had a solid running game. But my point is, and Bill Belichick, I saw an interview with him when they used to play against, when he coached against Lamar, and Bill was always known for taking away what the other team did well. And he talked about how with Lamar, as he progressed through his career, it used to be you just had to stop him running the ball. And then it came to the point where now he's become such a good passer that he's really hard to defend. So I think that Michael Vick, you never really feared him as a passer. Now, he had a rocket arm. I'm not saying that. Dude could probably throw it further than anybody. And running, you're right. I remember watching him play the Panthers, and it would be 3rd and 10, and you go, oh, my God, and there he goes.
Type of pass plays that were run in the early 90s or late 90s, early 2000s were not these crossing routes, slanting routes, things like that. They were drop back traditional 1, 2, 3, throw the ball. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, throw the ball. It was timing and touch, right? That's not the way offenses are run now. Those are still part of it, but offenses are run now. Play action. Let me get on the field. Let me throw a 5-yard pass to this guy running in space because everybody's going one way on this one, and I all I need to do is throw a 5-yard pass and let that guy go take off. Right, that's the way offenses are run now. It's misdirection. It's RPOs. Okay, you got 9 guys in the box. We're going to fake this and throw a little dump route over here to the side, 5-yard pass, and let him go. But so those passes that Lamar Jackson are completing aren't like, let me sit back, read the pocket, and throw the ball. It's not Peyton Manning-esque.
But I think what I agree with that. But what I would say is this: I think if you put Lamar Jackson in Michael Vick's era, he would be better than Michael Vick would be in this era, because I do think Lamar Jackson's a better passer, and I think they both can run. I think running, we both know they're 2 of the best ever. I think Lamar Jackson would be better in that era than Vick would be in this era.
I would say they'd be about the same as far as passing goes, right? And I'm telling you right now, there's not another player that has been as feared as Michael Vick to play that position ever. You can ask Brenson Butler.
I don't disagree.
You can ask any defensive player.
Do you think
player.
A lot of the reason he was feared so much is, I mean, obviously
let me say it again. He was feared.
I get it.
He had coordinators in sweats trying to figure out how to slow him down.
And I agree with all that, but don't you also think that maybe it's because he was really the first of his kind? Like, there was other quarterbacks that could run. I'm not saying that, but now not every quarterback, but now we see the majority of quarterbacks running the ball. And I think Lamar Jackson is one of the best runners of the football at the quarterback position we've ever seen.
Next to, I would say he would be, in my opinion, 3rd or 4th.
Who do you have besides Vick?
Vick, Cam Newton.
I mean, Cam would definitely be in the top 5. But
Cam Newton is the most efficient quarterback to ever play the position running the ball. He's the best running back to ever play the position.
He was a beast, man. There's no doubt about it.
You could not stop him. And that's the reason why. God has given so many guys different attributes.
But if you could take any of those 3 guys we just talked about, who would you take?
Oh, you're throwing Cam Newton in there as well in his prime?
Yeah. And Lamar has 2 MVPs.
I'm probably going to take Cam.
Yeah, I think I would
just
too.
Because I know that no matter what you do, he's going to be bigger, faster, and stronger than you.
6'5", 250, 250 whereas pounds. Lamar and Vick were both 6'1" at best.
Yeah, 6'1". But I mean, Vick was more elusive. Vick was a better runner than both of them out in space. But the things you could do with Cam Newton at the quarterback, they were just unstoppable.
He was the push by himself.
We're going to come here in this hole, right? And you cannot stop us because you're not big enough, you're not fast enough, you're not strong enough to be able to do that. So that's the reason why I would. Me personally, I'm taking Cam over both of them. If you're asking me today, and if they're both in their prime, but Michael Vick's second, it's not even close.
Wow. Well, we've got it up on our social media, so we've got a poll up. We'd love to hear what you guys think.
I'm fired up about this.
It's been an interesting argument this morning. I've been in Vegas. I'm still on Vegas time. I got back late last night and woke up to like 100 text messages of all this stuff.
And you know what?
It is a really interesting argument.
And not to knock what Nico's saying, because I think that if you never really saw Michael, it's kind of like the Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus comparison.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to take Tiger Woods all day, every day over Jack. And the people that saw Jack play religiously are going to take Jack over Tiger. Right.
Yeah.
They're both incredibly good players, but who are you taking?
Yeah.
Tiger Woods, I think, is the most talented golfer to ever play. He has the best mindset that you've ever seen as a golfer. And when it came down to it, you weren't beating him when you had to, right? You just weren't going to do it.
Yeah.
As an amateur, as a pro, his run through golf was as dominant as any player in history. I would say the same with Cam for the 2 years when he was. You could not stop Cam Newton. MVP Cam 2015. He would run around you. He'd run through you. He could throw the ball. He had good receivers around him. He didn't have great receivers, but you weren't stopping Cam Newton in this offense until you got to the Super Bowl and you played the Denver Broncos. But that's a different story.
Yeah,
and you decided not to jump on a loose ball.
Yeah.
But as far as the argument goes, I think that's the Vick Lamar Jackson argument. Is if you didn't really see Vick play, you really wouldn't understand, what I'm talking about. And golf was different back then versus where it is now. So I can get Nico's point on that, but I'm going with Vick. as the guy I'm taking.
It's definitely an interesting. So yeah, hit us up on our social medias, and we'd love to hear what you think.
The sad news is neither one of us. The Panthers don't have either one of them.
I was going to say
of all the three, we'd love to have any of them.
Yeah, we don't have any of those guys, and Bryce has been playing well as of late. He's been clutch down the stretch. And the Panthers go to the Jets this weekend. Looking to we talk about the hurdles that this team has had, and the one was a couple years ago when Dan Morgan took over. They had to fix the offensive line. He did it. This past offseason, we had the worst defense in the history of the NFL. We had to fix our defense. Well, right now, after 6 games, they're 3-3, and the run defense is
much different than what we thought that they were going to be after the first 3 games, for sure.
No doubt. And it really seems that after, against Jacksonville, Etienne had the 80-yard run and whatever, and then against Arizona, we didn't give him 100 yards. And since then, it seems like at least the run defense on our team has started to figure it out, to where in the last 2 weeks against 2 good rushing teams, Miami and the Cowboys, the Panthers, I think, have given up a total of 52 rushing yards combined in 2 games, which is saying something. And they're going to need that defense to travel, because we talk about, and that's what I was getting to, is that they've made a lot of these hurdles that we've needed them to make, right? And now winning on the road is the one that they've got to start figuring out, because Bryce has won 1 game on the road,
1-15 on the road,
1-15.
Isn't it amazing? The difference in quarterback with what he's done on the road versus what he's done here at home. And I know it's not all Bryce Young, with that, there's other factors that go into a football game when special teams, defense, et cetera, are factored into that. But he's won, what's his record now? Like 8-14 or 9-14 at home, 9-14 at home versus 1-15 on the road. I mean, that's significant.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, that's. I don't know if there's that much of a differential in any quarterback that's starting today that wins on the road versus at home.
Well, I think I told you that record ties him for, with 3 other quarterbacks in history, is the worst start to a road record in NFL history. Now, against the Patriots, he comes down, we look great, we score a touchdown, and then our special teams decides to not show up that day. And that's what you just mentioned. It takes all 3 phases. Mm-hmm. We got picked apart. New England which now we see New England's pretty damn good. So but still they whooped us, scored 42 unanswered points, if I'm not mistaken. Then we get off to a crappy start against Miami, 17-0 at home. And we see Bryce do what he does at home, which is come back. I think Bryce, out of his 9 wins as an NFL quarterback, 8 of them have been fourth quarter, last drive wins. And then we see the same thing with the Cowboys, where it's a dogfight back and forth. And we get the ball. What does Bryce do? He goes down, hits a huge 4th down play to Renfro to keep the drive alive. And let me read you some stats that I think. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question before you read these stats, because I think this might help your point and might help me understand, or give me a different perspective, right? Because I think you're gonna be Team Bryce right now, and that's okay, because he deserves it at home. He's won the last 2 games at home, back-to-back games. First time he's done that since last year, and they've only done that about 6 times since Tepper has been the owner.
Mm-hmm.
6 times since Tepper has been the owner. What is the biggest reason for this team's turnaround, or at least the way you feel about them right now? Is it the defense? Is it Bryce Young? Or is it Rico Dowdle in this offensive line? Because for me, it's not even close. Bryce Young has managed the game, right? He's not made the big play turnovers, but he's not the reason why this team has won these games at home. Rico Dowdle in this offensive line is. Mm-hmm. When you rush for 220-something yards in 1 week and then come back the very next week and do it again, I mean, that is unstoppable. When they know you're going to run the ball, the defense, and you can still say, we're going to run up and we're going to double team here, we're going to pull the guard, we're going to kick out, we're going to lead it up in there, and you're still gashing teams. And even though they're not maybe the best run defending teams in the world, it's the NFL. Mm-hmm. And you can do that in the NFL. That's a difference maker, right? I'm going to say the 2 biggest things and the reasons why and I'll give Bryce a little bit of credit, but I'm not giving him maybe the credit that you will. And this is where I want to see
I would probably rank them. I would probably rank the same way you would. In the last 2 games, there's no one that could argue that the offensive line and Dowdle have been why we've our offense in particular has clicked. And when you can run the ball, we saw this with Cincinnati in the Pittsburgh game last night. Cincinnati was the worst rushing team in the league.
50-something yards a game. The guy ran for 130 yards last night.
Since Burrow goes out. And last night he runs the ball. So what does it do?
But they ran the ball, DJ. They ran the ball because they were throwing the ball and they couldn't. So you had to pick your poison if you're the Steelers. But you had to either take away the slants with the man-to-man or you had to stop the run, right? If they stopped the run, Flacco was going to hit the slants on either Higgins or Chase. The Panthers have got to run the ball to throw the ball.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
They don't have the playmakers that Cincinnati has. They don't have the trigger puller that Flacco is able to make those quick decisions and throw the ball in time and hit him in space and running the ball. I mean, that's the one thing that Bryce does, I would say, probably favors his game more than anything else is, putting the ball on target without having to jump. Very different than
very
Cam.
accurate.
He's a very accurate passer. That's the best way to say it. But you're either doing one or the other. And if you stop the run against the Panthers, which is why even with 8 in the box, when they're playing the Dolphins, or if they're playing whoever they're playing, they're running the ball down your throat. You can't stop it. That's demoralizing as a defense. And that's does nothing but get you going as an offense where we're going to run the ball and you're going to stop it. We're going to run it right here. Do something about it.
Well, and when you run the ball, like I said with Cincinnati last night, when they started running the ball early in the game, it did open things up for Flacco. And you're right, Dowdle doing what he's doing has definitely made things easier for Bryce. And the offensive line's playing great. And we've had 4 different starting lineups on the offensive line due to injuries, and it sounds like we're going to have a 5th this week because Damian Lewis, our stud guard, didn't practice again today. So it appears that he may be out, which means you're going to have 2 backup guards, your backup center, who is not playing like a backup center, by the way. He's playing great.
He's earned himself a starting role somewhere.
No doubt.
And if it's not here with the Panthers in the future, it'll be with another team.
It'll be here
because played himself into a starting
He's
role.
Playing great. And so we'll see, who they have fill in there at guard. It could be, Corbett, who is back now, who is a natural guard who had been playing center.
But Corbett versus Damian Lewis are two different bodies.
Damian Lewis is the heart and soul of that. Him and Robert Hunt, who's out for the year. So it'll see if we can keep doing that. We do get Chuba Hubbard back this week, and we get Jalen Coker back this week, which, if you remember in preseason when the Panthers traded Adam Thielen, it was because Coker, who had a great rookie year last year as an undrafted free agent, he's a big body, he can run, good hands. Well, he's back. He's why we traded Thielen, and he's back. And I'm excited about having him. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Panthers do with their active roster, because Jimmy Horn Jr.'s earned the spot to continue to play. He's made 2-3 plays at both games he's played in. So
they could utilize him a little bit more. If they get this run game going. And that's the reason why, with misdirection, you can't just sit on the run, because you have a player and a playmaker that has the explosiveness of a Jimmy Horn. You saw him on a couple reverses. Just trying to keep the defense honest.
And even as a decoy.
Just trying to keep the defense honest so they can't just suffocate the run. They have to honor at least the reverses, because you have the potential of giving up a big play touchdown if you don't. So all those things are working because of the run game. And I think that's the reason why Bryce is having the success, I believe, that you were about to point out.
Yeah, and before I get to that, I was going to say that the thing that's going to be interesting this weekend is to see what receiver is not activated. And I got to believe it's going to be Hunter Renfrow, because
even though he had the biggest play of the game.
Yeah, no doubt.
And he's the guy that you rely on, or at least that Bryce did. I mean, people aren't giving Renfrow enough credit for how difficult that catch was.
No, I mean, that was a great throw and a great catch. And you're right. I mean, in clutch situations, he don't catch that game's over. They lose. So, but you can only fit so many receivers. Now, they did have Coker practicing return and punch the other day, which he did not do in college. So that I can't imagine they're going to trust him with that. They could have Etienne back there, who we've seen fumble twice. So we don't know if we want that, but Coker's going to be starting. So it'll be interesting to see what Canales does with the lineup come Sunday with who's active, who's not. Here's the stats I was going to mention as far as this Panthers offense. They're 4th in the NFL in offensive success rate.
What does that mean? What is success rate?
Meaning the amount of plays that you run, the amount of positive plays compared to the amount of negative.
So they're running the ball. What's a positive? What's considered plus 1 yard?
Positive run, positive catch, minus turnovers, minus
versus a tackle for loss or a sack or things.
And there's more things in the algorithm that I'm not smart enough to understand, but I do know that they're 4th in the NFL.
Is that called efficiency or success? What is it?
They call it offensive success rate, which is one of the new metrics that the NFL
look it up.
is going by. and last week against the Cowboys, they had the second highest offensive success rate of any team this year in a game. So my point of even bringing that up is the fact that with the addition of Dowdle and the way he's been playing, we have seen Canales get into a rhythm with his play calling. I mean, I don't know if you saw, even this week, we saw Luke Kuechly went on our buddies over at FNZ Mac and T-Bone show and said that he watches all the tape, and he said Canales is doing a great job of play calling, because when I watch the tape, I normally can figure out what they're going to be doing, and he's got me guessing a lot. And so when you hear a guy like Luke Kuechly, who's one of the best players to ever play linebacker, especially when it comes to figuring out what the defense is going to do, number one, that's a hell of a compliment. Number two, you see the guys on Pat McAfee's show who break things down, and they always have a great guest list.
They have another linebacker, AJ Hawk, who played in the NFL.
Yep.
Obviously, does the same thing that Luke does. They study the film,
and they're giving a lot of credit to the play calling. So it does seem that now that when Dowdle starts opening things up and running the ball, now it lets Canales open the playbook up a little bit. And so hopefully they can continue to do that on the road, because this game scares the hell out of me, by the way, because I know on paper the Jets are 0-6, but they lost at home to the Steelers because their punt returner fumbled the ball, and Pittsburgh got the ball back and won the game. They lost at Tampa Bay when they were up with a minute and a half left, and Baker Mayfield goes down the field and gets them a field goal. They lost to Denver last week when they had the ball at the end of the game and just couldn't do anything with it when all they needed was a field goal. So that's three good teams.
They lost a 12-9 game to Denver last week in a defensive battle. The Jets' defense at home is a pretty good defense. I think is your point.
Agree.
Right. Offensively, Fields is struggling. I think he's the lowest ranked quarterback in the NFL, and I don't know if that has anything to do with lack. He's the last in success rate, I guess.
He has the lowest success rate.
Well,
last week, minus 10 yards passing, which is the worst I think that's ever happened in the NFL.
But they were still in a game 12-9.
That's what scares.
Or 15-12.
Now Garrett Wilson, their great wide receiver, is not playing this week. It sounds like against Panthers.
Great wide receiver.
Very good. He's their best wide receiver.
That's a better way to say. He's not a great wide receiver.
He's a pretty good receiver, but
he might be their best. But he ain't great.
If he had a quarterback, I think he'd be a hell of a lot better. But it doesn't sound like he's going to play, which helps the Panthers a lot, because it isn't like they have a strong receiving core. You're looking at Lazard and guys like that. Now they do have a stud rookie tight end, and Jason Taylor's son, who is off to a great start.
You just took the words right out of my mouth, because it feels like the Panthers have had a tough time, when a team wants to run the ball, of stopping the tight end in the passing game. Right. And I think that's what the Jets are going to try to focus on, is that you have a quarterback, at least, that has the ability to run. He may not be able to read defenses and throw the ball everywhere. And, the Jets
holds the ball
and he holds the ball. So teams are going to get sacks. I think he is. The Jets are giving up, the most sacks in the league right now.
4 or 5 a game, which the Panthers are last in the league at getting sacks. So this could be a perfect matchup for them to get some.
What will help the Panthers, really help the Panthers on the road, and I think it's going to be necessary in order for them to be in this game and compete and win, is they still have to stop the run.
Yep.
And to your point, I think that was the number 2 thing on my list, and why the success. Derek Brown is a game changer in the middle of this defense.
Yep.
And he is wrecking offensive linemen and throwing them around like rag dolls. He wants to get more involved in the passing game, because there is zero pass pressure on the passing game, because they're forced to drop everybody back, because their coverage is suspect at best. So when you're playing teams like Dallas, and you're playing teams that are capable of throwing the ball down the field, and you have a star player, it's hard to isolate him. Michael Jackson tried, last week, against Dallas's,
Pickens,
the star receiver, who tore us up, right? But at least you're not giving up the big plays or the touchdowns, because you have other guys able to come off in those zone defenses and make plays. But that's going to mean that you're not going to get much pressure unless your front four is getting there. If your front four has the ability to make and beat guys one-on-one, then that's one thing. You can drop back and play zone in predictable situations, right? But it's going to be tough for anybody in the NFL to hold up against any receiver or any group that is going to be able to sit back there and quarterback pat, and no pressure, right? And when I say no pressure, pocket clean. There's not quarterback having to step up. There's not quarterback having to escape. It's sitting in the pocket, pat,
yep.
eyeball. Eventually, even a guy like Fields is going to find a receiver open, and it might be in the form of a tight end. It might be a running back out of the backfield. You're not going to be able to cover those good receivers for that long, in the NFL and have any success. So if the Panthers are going to have any type of success, they have to stop the run. And I feel like they have to play Derek Brown more to at least get some pressure up the middle of the field in the pocket where it forces, Fields out, where at least they can, go hunt. The defensive ends can rush wider and force him out. And if he's like most other quarterbacks that are running that don't have the ability to really read, they're going to go deep to the right. So whoever that, the Panthers are on that side, they're going to have to rush him around and meet him there when he tries to escape the pocket.
Yeah, Derek Brown, went to the coaching staff last game and said, "Look, keep me in on third downs. I want to get after the quarterback," and they did. And he
also wants to get that big paycheck too.
Well, he just got one. He's got a couple years, but he made a difference on it. He at least was getting pressure. Scorton and Umanelan, the two rookies, were close. Scorton's playing great. Now he just hadn't had his first sack yet, but he's playing really good.
When you say they're close, I mean you're close after 1, 2, 3.
Well, regardless,
4,
close
5.
against Dak Prescott should be a sack against Fields because Fields is going to hold the ball 2 seconds longer. So he holds the ball a long time.
Fields is also going to be able to escape. But anyways, I mean, they have to get to him. They have to get him. They can't be almost.
But the first thing is what you said is the main point of the game. They have to stop the run, and then they have to run the ball. The Jets do have a solid defense. I mean, their DBs, they actually have not been – their defense actually similar to the Panthers if you look at the fact that they've done pretty good against the run, and they haven't done that well against the pass, where Panthers have been very similar. Last week, we shut the running game down. Miami, we shut it down, but they passed the ball. Pickens had a huge day against us. Waddle had a big day against us. Waller had a huge day against us. So, and I know you have to kind of pick your poison. And that was a question that I wanted to ask you is that when you're playing a team like the Jets with a quarterback that is not the most efficient thrower of the football, but they've got a really good running back in Hall, right? And he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Does that allow you, and they have a good tight end in Mason Taylor, which we've seen tight ends, and we saw Ferguson kick our butt last week too with the Cowboys. I mean, every tight end that's played against us this year has had a good day. You sell out for the run first anyway, right? You got to sell out, stop the run, and make Fields beat you with his arm. And if they do that, then so be it, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you want them to play to their weaknesses, not their strengths,
right?
And their strength right now on offense is not much. I mean, they don't run the ball very well. Their strength is probably when Fields runs the ball. That's probably makes them the most dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you combat that on the defensive side is in passing situations, you play zone defense. You force him to throw the ball. You only rush 4 guys. Sometimes you rush 3 and drop, 8, right? And you make him make decisions and reads, and eventually he might move the ball a little bit down the field, but ultimately one of those balls is going to get picked. He's going to make a bad decision.
Yeah, and he hasn't thrown interceptions, which is surprising, but he's not throwing the ball downfield.
But he's going to make because of the way teams are playing him.
Yeah.
They're playing him in zone defense because where does he become dangerous? If you play man-to-man and you blitz and he beats the blitz or you pick up the blitz, now everybody with all the DBs are doing what? Because they're in man-to-man, they're turning and running. And if they're turning and running, they can't keep their eyes on the quarterback when he escapes pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And he escapes pressure is where he becomes dangerous, and that because now he's a runner. So they're going to play with everything in front of them. They're going to drop back in coverage, or they should anyways, and keep the quarterback in front, and then fire guys when he escapes pressure to go, and attack, because now you can at least see him because all you're doing is dropping to his zone, right? So that's the way you combat that. But, a 9-7 game, 9-10 game, something like that is, because they're going to sell out they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the Jets right now and you're seeing the Panthers, what are you going to do if you're placing?
Got to stop the run.
Got to stop the run. I mean, you got to stop the run. You got to put a safety down in the box or put another linebacker in there and play almost a short yardage defense and force you to throw the ball. And that's the question that you have right now. There's a reason why, right? If I'm playing the stats, 1-15. Mm-hmm. I'm showing that to all my coaching staff. They're 1-15 on the road. Why? Because Bryce Young doesn't play well on the road, right? They don't run the ball like they do at home, right? They aren't the same team on the road because their defense doesn't execute as highly.
But let me, Chuba comes back this week, right? So now we've got a great 1-2 punch. I got to believe Dowdle still starts, but like both quarterbacks both running backs.
So I don't know if we have a great 1-2 punch, but go ahead and finish, and I'll give you the reason why I'm saying that versus what I think a lot of people are just going to expect with Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams.
Well, I'm not saying they're going to be that. I'm just saying that now, because I still think Dowdle has to carry the ball 20 times. I still think he has to be the workhorse. We've seen that when he gets lathered up and going, we've seen what he does. So I think that he still has to be the main focal point point of the running game right now. But I do think that being able to have Chuba be the guy that comes in and get, 8 or 9 carries to give him a break is better than what we've had. And that Etienne's had some decent runs, but I do think that improves us there. I also think that teams have been doubling and trying to take Tet McMillan away from us because they weren't scared of anybody else. Well, now you got Jalen Coker back, and I think that he's a weapon that a lot of Panther fans are excited about. I know I'm excited about him.
There's nobody else in the NFL afraid of him.
Well, we'll find out. I mean,
they're not going to. He
had some huge play. I mean, 500 yards receiving last year as an undrafted rookie. He's big. He's fast.
They're not going to change the way they play because of him.
Well, unless we make them, and that's
he almost was the point. He was almost to the point where he didn't make the team. Right, he was on the bubble of making the team. He was guys that
his rookie year.
Guys that are fearing other players aren't saying, okay, well, now we got to look out for him because he's coming off. Nobody's afraid of him.
I'm not saying they're afraid of him. What I'm saying though is now when they double Tet, I believe we've upgraded another option. So having a guy at his size with speed
over who?
You name them.
Over Renfro?
Over Leggett, over Renfro,
over Leggett,
Horn,
I would say,
over all of them.
And let me say this: we said it a little bit, a couple weeks ago, last time we were on, I think, about Leggett. There's a big reason why this team is also running the ball.
He's blocking his butt off.
Is because he's when they're dropping the safety in and they're saying we're going to bring 8 in the box to stop the run. You got a 240-pound tight end basically / receiver going out there and hammering a safety. That's big on big, right? That's a big body on a most likely a smaller safety. You don't have Cam Chancellor back there who's going to match that size. You're hitting a big body, a little body with a big body, and he's getting movement, right? So that's a big reason why this team has opened up those big runs for that second level explosiveness with Dowdle. So he's been a big factor in that. Muhsin Muhammad wasn't the most explosive guy going, but that sucker could block his ass off, right? We had training film as offensive lineman to watch him, how he rolled his hips and fired and came through the cylinder and knocked guys out and moved guys out of the way.
Yep.
I mean, and that's kind of what you're seeing with the reemergence of, a big body.
And Leggett's made not only blocking, but he has had a couple big plays. He's kind of, he had the boneheaded lateral we got away with last week, but he also has had a couple big plays in the last 2 games. So hopefully he's getting his confidence going. But I think the addition of Coker is definitely going to at least give Bryce another option and an upgraded option on offense. Here's the other thing I wanted to talk about Bryce. Again, this has to travel. Like we haven't seen this travel. On 4th downs this year, right? And fourth quarters, 4th down, when you have to make a play to win the game. Bryce Young right now is first in the NFL in completions with 6, first in the NFL on 4th down in yards at 99, first in first downs with 6, and a 126.7 quarterback rating.
So he's 6 for 6.
The only one that he's not first in is quarterback rating. He's 4th, but he still has a 126.7.
So, but he's 6 for 6 with his completions versus first downs. Because if they only had 6 opportunities,
right, and for 99 yards. So my point is, we've seen him at home on 4th downs in particular be clutch. We've seen him, at home with 8 comeback wins. So again, not the last hurdle, but the biggest hurdle that this team has to conquer now is doing it on the road. And to me, they got to get off to a good start. They were in the hole against Jacksonville. They're in the hole against Arizona. They get a lead against the Pats, and then they fold up like a cheap lawn chair. They've got to get off to a good start because I think everyone thinks this game is probably going to be a grinder. It's probably going to be a low-scoring game.
Take the under.
Yeah, the under probably is the best bet. But we've got to get off to a good start because, for Bryce and for this team to be able to win on the road, you don't want to be in a hole. And here we go again where they know exactly, though, they got to pass the ball every time. They're going to pin their ears back because the Jets can get to the quarterback. So I think they've got to get off to a great start. For Bryce to be able to be clutch and to put himself in a position to win the ball game, as opposed to being in a position like we were in Arizona, we're down 20 points and he's got to throw the ball 50 times. So I think that's going to be a big, and I think that's why this game scares me so much, is because the Jets have been in a lot of games. Now the Cowboys wore them out in New York, the week before we beat them. And the New York press is all over this team right now. They're all over the coaching staff.
They haven't won a game. They're 0-6. They should
0-6, no doubt. And then New York, amplify that by 100. There's a lot of talk that the locker room thinks that Tyrod Taylor, the backup quarterback, should be starting. He's better. So I think that if Fields does get off to a slow start in this game, I have no doubt in my mind that Aaron Glenn's going to put Tyrod Taylor in. Aaron Glenn has kind of gone with the wind in these press conferences to where one day he's saying this, and then he seems to listen to the sports talk and read the papers, and then the next day it kind of changes with the wind. Tyrod Taylor is obviously a huge topic there. I think if Fields does get off to a bad start, we're going to see Tyrod. I hope that doesn't happen because I think Tyrod is a better passer of the football than Fields is.
At least he's going to diagnose things a little quicker right now. It seems like Fields with the new offense right now is having a tough time diagnosing, doesn't have great chemistry with his receivers. They're not running the ball very efficiently as well, and their defense is playing okay. But at home, they're going to be, like you pointed out, they're going to be their defense can be much better.
Yep.
Right. So all those things factor into what is their strengths versus what of our strengths, and what have we done well. I don't know this right offhand, but I would venture to guess our rushing attack on the road is not nearly what it is at home either. Right.
Well, I mean, honestly, our rushing attack before Dowdle was bottom half of the NFL.
Yeah.
Now with Dowdle, it's been number one. So, the numbers are kind of skewed, but
2 games at home,
two games at home. He's been, and he's also been very valuable in the passing game, by the way. I mean, he had 36-yard touchdown catch. So that's why I do believe that they're going to have to let him get lathered up is the word that Canales used, because when he's done what he's done,
buckle up. What was
well, he said, buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up.
But I don't see how
son.
You can't let him get the majority of the carries and get a lather going up when he's done what he's done the last 2 games, because that leads to a question I want to ask you. You're an offensive lineman. When you have a running back that's running as hard as he's running and fighting for extra yards after the first hit, second hit.
I'll give you a good example. Go ahead, finish.
I was going to say, this got to make the offensive line unit, which, by the way, are getting a lot of praise right now nationally, right, which I'm sure they love. But that's got to make you guys, and I don't want to say fight harder because I know you guys fight hard anyway, but it's got to make you guys, number one, more confident. Number two, fight for that guy even harder because you see how hard he's working, and he's not just, hitting the hole and falling down. He's busting his ass to get, through the first tackle, the second tackle. Is that the case? Like, would that make you as a lineman fight even harder when you see a guy like that behind you?
Tim Biakabatuka, Fred Lane. Right?
Yep.
Exactly what you're talking about. Biakabatuka was the star first round pick, the highlight, had the ability to
4-4.
Could take it to the house any given time, and played hard. Played hard as it ran well, but the types of plays he ran were different than Fred Lane. Fred Lane was more like and I'm just going to use as a bad example because I'm not comparing him to him, but he ran like him, was Walter Payton. Walter Payton was going to hit you to contact, run through you, and keep his legs drive and spin out and the effort was going to be relentless. He's going till the whistle and sometimes past it. The reason why I got in a big fight is because the defense wasn't sure that he was down or not. And he kept running hard. And, those are the things that kind of happened. But as an offensive lineman, we are built to run certain types of plays. We run certain plays better than others. And it feels like this defense or this offense is going to be a downhill double team attack, get up in the hole and fill with that backside guard and block back where you're creating angles, right? It's a gap scheme, type of team. They got Taylor Moton, the big right tackle. They have a big right guard. They got Damian Lewis, rolling up in the hole. That's a lot of beef coming at you. You looked at the Pittsburgh Steelers last night with their tight end, who is a glorified tackle.
Washington.
Right? In Washington, he's 6'8", 320 pounds, if anything. But he plays like a tight end that plays offensive line. If he played offensive line, he might be the best left tackle in the game, right? Because of how athletic he is. But when you move him around and motion him around, you got 3 bodies coming at you like that on those press runs where they're kind of zone schemes, and you have a running back that can scoot and find and have great vision like they had last night. You have a potent running game. Well, that's what Dowdle runs well. Dowdle runs downhill well. He sees the hole. He understands the blocking scheme. He has one read. He sees the linebacker flow. He cuts. He sees the linebacker fill. He flows. Right. That's the thing that he's looking for. And it doesn't matter what anything else does. But if you're getting movement, you have the ability to do that. And you have Leggett now, who's another big body coming through there like a tight end.
And Bryson Tremaine's another guy that they picked up from the Redskins practice squad this offseason. He makes the team. He's had a couple big catches this year for him so far, but he's kind of a quasi tight end receiver.
We call him H-back. He's going to run through, and you can do a lot of different things with him as well.
I saw some highlight films of just him the last 2 games with some big blocks, doing kind of what you just said, peeling off and hitting the linebacker. And
he's the backside cutoff, because when you pull that guard, you reach and scoop that tackle, that end has a free shot to come make that play. But if this guy comes across formation and at least just traps him, stops him, that's where you have your cutback, or you can continue to press the hole.
Yep.
That's an important job, right? Instead of having a backside tight end that tries to reach and fall, and the guy comes down and makes the play, you have a guy that's stopping and cutting the defense in half. So that's what they're doing really well right now. I'm not sure if Chuba Hubbard runs those plays as well as Rico does. His vision, I think, is more for what the Steelers do, is more of a press and cut, type of offense, right? He's going to press the hole, make a cut, or bounce because of his speed. Dowdle's downhill. Mm-hmm. He's coming angry. He's running angry downhill, and he's looking for vision up the field as he's making those cuts. Chuba's more of a, press, patience, and then speed through the hole. And, I don't know if the Panthers are built offensively to be that athletic running team where they're going to get movement lateral or vertical or laterally side to side, because they have big bodies. So I think that if Chuba is going to have success, I think he's going to have to fall in line. This is what our identity is as an offensive lineman. You have to learn how to run these plays well.
And they got to do it on the road. So we'll pick that game here shortly. But yeah, Panthers with a golden opportunity. And I don't think it'll be easy, but a golden opportunity to be above
1.5-point favorites on the road.
Yeah, which they haven't been in, I think, since
2 weeks ago. I looked up this game, and they were 3-point underdogs.
Yeah.
So now they've turned into at least a 1.5 favorite.
Well, they got to get going on the road if they're going to do anything. It's the first time they have a chance to be above 500 for, I think, maybe the first time in 3 years. It might be longer than that. It's been a minute. Let's put it that way. So,
have they won a first game?
I don't think so.
Has Tepper's been here?
I don't think so. So it's definitely been a long time. So
they haven't won a first game since Bryce has been starting.
And if they can, that's true. And if they can,
and the reason why they drafted Bryce, because they didn't win any games.
Right. So it makes sense.
It's been at least 5 years since they've been above 500.
So they got a chance to get above 500. Then they would come home against the Bills, I believe. So
Google that.
It doesn't get easier.
That's a good question.
But yeah, so Panthers with a chance to get above 500. Let's hope they can. And we'll make that pick here shortly. Let's jump into some college football, and we'll make our picks as we talk about the game. First game that I want to go through. There's a lot of great games on the card this weekend, by the way, but this is one that's one of the best rivalries in college football over the last, 4 or 5 decades. Southern Cal comes to Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a 9.5-point favorite. Notre Dame has 2 losses, but they were to Texas A&M and Miami, 2 of the best teams in football. Southern Cal comes in with 1 loss. They whooped Michigan's butt at Southern Cal last weekend in a game that I thought was going to be closer. I actually had Michigan, which makes sense because I lost damn near every game last week. But Southern Cal comes in, high-powered offense. Lincoln Riley, that's kind of been his thing. They can score, but they can't stop anybody. Well, last week their defense looked pretty doggone good. Now, they're playing against a quarterback in Underwood who, is a true freshman, struggling throwing the ball. But their defense, I think, is improved. Now they come into a Notre Dame team that has one of the top 5 rushing games in college football. CJ Carr has been really good. You can see every game he's getting more confidence as a redshirt freshman quarterback. They can throw the ball. They got receivers. But Notre Dame's a 9.5-point favorite. And that's a lot for a defense in Notre Dame that has been giving up some points. Boise State came in 2 weeks ago and scored some points on them. I think Purdue scored 25 points on them. So 9.5 points is a lot of points to be given a Southern Cal offense.
This is an underrated rivalry, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. This is a tradition that goes back from, as far as I can remember, to being one of the best games and the biggest talked about games in college football.
Yep.
I remember even back in the early 2000s when Reggie Bush and Lindell White and Matt Leinart and the Bush Push.
Last play of the game.
That was arguably one of the greatest college football teams to ever play college football, and Notre Dame took them to the very last play of the game at home, right? So, I know this for a fact. Notre Dame when fast teams come in, what do?
Slow it down, baby.
They slow it down. How do they slow it down? They let their field grass grow about 3 more inches.
Well, now they can't do that because they put in that field turf.
Okay, well,
so unless they add some more crushed up tennis shoes or something.
That's the one thing that they've taken away. So you've been there recently. I'm still thinking back in the days
that
they
grow the grass. It's like Cameron when they make it 120 degrees in there.
That's right. So, that being said, when you look at these two teams today, Southern Cal isn't, the talented team that you saw with, guys like Caleb Williams who can throw the ball around everywhere. Lincoln Riley's done a nice job. They had a big win against Michigan last week. Surprisingly, the way they beat them, they just shut Michigan's run game down. I think defensively they're pretty good. Notre Dame wants to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
I am not 100% sold on their quarterback throwing the ball, Notre Dame's. I know that we've seen him. He doesn't have the strongest arm. When you look at an arm, you see, gosh, wow, that kid from Alabama, he may not be the most accurate. We don't know anything about him, but damn, that ball comes out of his hand 100 miles an hour. It's a quick, explosive release. Notre Dame, I'm still waiting for that guy to step up and play and be that guy. I don't think he's that guy.
Well, he's a freshman, but I do think that when you watch him throw the ball, I have no doubt in my mind he's a future first-round pick. The kid's got a gun. He's accurate as all. I mean, when he came out of high school, he was a number 2 pocket passer coming out. He's not going to hurt you with his legs, that's for sure. But I still think 9.5 points is too much. And
I do too.
And I'll go first on this one. I'm going to take Southern Cal plus 9.5. I wish we had a hook there.
Yeah.
But we're both taking Southern Cal.
I'm taking Southern Cal.
Yeah, I just think that's a lot of points in a rivalry game.
I think Notre Dame wins the game, but I think it's it could be a back and forth game. I think it's going to be a low scoring game, and then a field goal could win it.
Here's a game that normally we wouldn't probably even talk about, but I'm excited to watch this game, and it's the undefeated Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets heading to Duke. And Duke lost at home to Illinois early in the season, but since then they've been reinvigorated. The coach, we both love their coach.
Manny Diaz,
their quarterback's playing great. I don't think their defense is going to be good enough to stop Georgia Tech for a full game. I think that quarterback at Tech is just a beast. And talking about somebody that can kill you with the arm and the legs, that's him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that I love their coach. I think it's going to be a really good game. And Georgia Tech has squeaked by a few, right? They squeaked by Clemson at home with the last second long field goal. They got down early last week and came back. Duke's laying 1.5 at home.
No, I think is Duke favored in that game.
Duke's favored, yeah. So, but I think and I love what Manny Diaz is doing there. I love Duke's quarterback, but I just think that Georgia Tech has something going on right now, and they you're going to have to play them tough the entire game. And I just don't know if Duke has enough depth on defense to do that.
Handling success is one of the hardest things a coach has to deal with when they're not used to success.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech is undefeated, and all they're doing around when they're walking around campus, oh, you guys are great. You're awesome. You're doing. You haven't lost a game yet. How are you guys underdogs to Duke? Right? All those things that they're hearing, as they go. You guys are the best team that we've had since we've won that national championship, et cetera. We're undefeated, and it's hard to handle. Those expectations, right? It's when you're getting patted on the back versus being the guy climbing the mountain. You're not good enough. You suck. You're terrible. Oh, I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove you wrong, right? So, Georgia Tech has something that I feel like they haven't seen in a while, and that's the success that they're having
this late in the season. Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see in this game. But I just think that they have a difference maker at quarterback. I think they have a very good coach. I think they have a confidence that they have right now. I don't know if they start off fast but I do believe that there's something special about this Georgia Tech team. They can lean back to their times against Clemson where, they've been in close games and found a way to pull it through.
Even against Colorado in their first game of the year where it was a dogfight the whole game, and then they come back and they don't quit.
They find a way to win it, and I think that's due to coaching, and then that's kind of due to the quarterback, and they have a confidence. I take Georgia Tech in this one.
We both do. So we're the same. By the way, Frank's took the lead back over last week. He's 39-34. I'm 30.
Only a matter of time before the cream rises to the top.
Well, man, last week I couldn't get anything right, and
I just don't know how Duke is favored in this game.
Well, you go to the whole thing about if that game was at Georgia Tech, it's being at home is normally 3 points, right? So
yeah, I mean, but now they're saying that Georgia Tech can only be a 1.5, so they're giving. They think Duke is better by a 1.5.
And listen, Duke's good. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Duke, and I'd love to see him pull out the victory, but I'm taking Georgia Tech. Another game that I'm really excited about, because I know you and I both love watching Vandy play. We both love Pavea, their quarterback. They're scrappy. Even the games they've lost, they've been in it and fighting. LSU comes to Vandy. LSU has been one of those teams that it's hard to figure out. Their offense has not been nearly what we thought it would be. Their defense is strong, and for the most part, I mean, Ole Miss lit them up pretty good. But LSU comes to Vandy. Vandy's laying 1.5 at home. And again, we're talking teams now in Duke and Vandy who aren't used to being favorites. It's been a while. But the last couple of years, Vandy has been, especially since Pavea has been there, we've seen them win a lot of games that people didn't think they would win. I'm not sold on LSU. I don't think they run the ball nearly as well as they should. I think that's been a problem with Brian Kelly since he's been at LSU. They just have a hard time running the ball. This game's a toss up to me because I want to think the pedigree at LSU is good enough to go to Vandy and win. But man, I can't bet against Pavea. Like, I just at home, and look, Vandy's by no means playing in Alabama or Tennessee or somewhere like that. But those fans get fired up, and they're fired up about this football team. And again, I just can't bet against Pavea, so I'm going to take Vandy -1.5.
Vanderbilt is one of those places you go where they've never really seen success playing football, so they're still cheering when you're out there on offense, right? The fans are still cheering.
Yeah.
They're the nerds of the SEC. They are.
Yeah,
right.
Smart
This
folks.
is not baseball. They're pretty damn good in baseball.
Really good.
This is football. Pavea is a difference maker. If you look at that game against Alabama, if not for the fumble, right, deep in Alabama's territory, that game, the outcome, that was a momentum-changing play.
Huge play. That
may keep them in the game and keep them motivated. I think that's the reason why they score, the number is what it is. But LSU, as you said, they are expected to win. They're expected to beat Vanderbilt. Their tradition, their history, they're a football powerhouse. Vanderbilt is happy to be there. I think LSU just has too much firepower. They have too much confidence. They have too many players. They have too much depth. And ultimately, Pavea could be a difference maker, but LSU has a pretty good quarterback too.
They really do.
And I think it'll come down to who makes the least mistakes, in this game, if they can keep Vanderbilt's crowd from cheering when Pavea is on the field.
Well, you got LSU, I got Vandy, and again, that's a toss-up. I can see it go either way, but we finally have one we're different on. Another game that should be a good one this week, Oklahoma coming off a loss in the Red River rivalry to Texas, travels to South Carolina. South Carolina so far this year has been a disappointment. They just can't.
Did they just fire their offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken? There's a lot of talk about firing him.
The fans are out there protesting to fire Shula, but they have not done it yet. Oklahoma's laying 5.5. South Carolina's a team to me that I've watched every one of their games because I've got you and other buddies who are Gamecock guys. I worry about Oklahoma because when a team who is undefeated loses a game, a lot of times it's like when you see a boxer get knocked out the first time, it seems like they never. It's what I said to you earlier about Penn State. They let the Texas game beat them twice. Right, exactly. Right? Like Oregon did with Penn State. And a boxer is a very good example. You feel that weakness, and you're not expecting that, and you don't rebound well from it because you're still in awe that you lost. Yep. Right. So I think boxing is a great analogy of that. Well, and South Carolina has yet. South Carolina was what we said about the Panthers going into the Dallas game. They've looked great in the second half. They've looked great for this quarter or that quarter, but they've yet to look great for a game. And South Carolina, to me, it mirrors that. Now, the Panthers did it against Dallas. South Carolina has yet to put it all together. Their defense is going to play well at home. They have all year long. Sellers is due to have a game where he lives up to possibly a number 1 pick in the draft. And I think this could be the game. Oklahoma, like you said, maybe with a hangover after losing to their rival Texas. I'm going to take South Carolina getting the 5.5.
I would love to be on that side as well, but I just have seen too much of the South Carolina team, to bank on them, right? Offensively, they have some really explosive players, but they're straight line guys. They don't run routes very well.
And they don't run the ball. That does scare me.
And they have not had continuous success running the ball unless the ball is in his hand. He is their best player by far. And defenses had figured out how to slow them down. Again, going back to what I said about playing zone defense, making him beat you throwing the ball with receivers who aren't very good at running routes has been a challenge for them, right? And that's the reason why their running game is not open, is because they're going to stop the run. Teams are going to stop the run. They're going to play you in zone defense, and they're going to force these receivers to go out there and run routes that they're not very good at. Right, they're going to make you play to your weaknesses. I don't think South Carolina's defense. I think they get fatigued. They're a little disappointing, especially the edge rushers. They aren't what was advertised. I think Oklahoma comes in here and handles South Carolina and recovers well over their hangover of that Texas, the Red River rivalry last week, and takes care of business versus South Carolina. So I'm taking Oklahoma.
Those last 2 games, I could go either way, and I might even change my mind before I bet tomorrow. But right now, we're 2-2 as far as different games. Now, these next 2 games, get your popcorn ready. Ole Miss at Georgia. Ole Miss comes in undefeated, coming off a big win against LSU. That Lane Kiffin's offenses are going to score. Georgia coming in obviously with 1 loss, but they had a tough match with Auburn last week. They ended up winning the game by 10, but we've yet to see Georgia minus the 1 game they lost against Alabama, where they really played pretty well. But we haven't seen them just dominate like we're used to seeing Georgia dominate. Ole Miss, different on the road than they are at home. And this is your pick to go first. Georgia laying 7.5 at home versus Ole Miss.
Georgia at home is a different animal. These fans have been there. They've done that. Kirby Smart's going to have them ready to go. And, they do play defense, and they have the big guys up front and can be physical when necessary. Ole Miss can throw the ball all over the place. I know they have all year long. They're undefeated. This is a coin flip for me, but I'm taking Georgia at home just because of the home field advantage.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, again, getting 7.5 points, knowing how Ole Miss can score, I want to take them. And Georgia has not been wearing people out like we're used to seeing them. But like I said, I think Georgia's due to get rocking and rolling, and I think this is where they do it.
It's hard to throw the ball and be a finesse offense. And I know that's, kind of hard to say in the SEC that you're a finesse anything because of the teams you're playing against. But if you're wanting to throw the ball and you get another team that's just running the ball down your throat and, at will, then it's hard to throw the ball from the bench.
True that. Dylan, our executive producer, Big D, just gave us an update on the poll. You're going to be surprised. So far, 67% Lamar Jackson, 33% Michael Vick. It's early, but 67% Lamar Jackson.
It's funny because on my poll, I'm like 100%.
On your Facebook poll?
On my Facebook poll.
Well, that's because all your friends are old. And
it might be.
And they're going Michael Vick. All right, let's go to another big game this week. This might be the game of the week that I'm excited about, minus the Notre Dame game. Tennessee traveling to Alabama. Huge rivalry. Tennessee lost at home to Georgia on a great game, back and forth, high-scoring game. Again, Tennessee can score points with anybody. Alabama has righted the ship after losing to what has now turned out to be a crappy Florida State team. But they have found their game. I believe they got their running back after 3 games, and I think that's made a huge difference. But Alabama's laying 8.5 at home versus Tennessee. I go first on this one. Alabama, as good as they're playing, and I think they're one of the better teams in the country, no doubt about it. But it seems like they're playing in a lot of tight games, right? We saw Vandy hang around for a long time until, like you said, the fumble really is what got Bama back into that, and they ended up winning.
What was the score of last year's game? Didn't Tennessee just wear them out? Heupel, if I'm not mistaken,
You might be right. I don't remember, but
Heupel, he might have. That was, obviously the new turnover. When Washington's coach came over there, but to Alabama, but there's just some teams and some coaches that their style does not mesh well against the team that you're playing. And I think Tennessee in Heupel are one of those teams. The game is at Alabama.
Yep. 8.5 is a lot of points.
8.5 is a lot of points.
Alabama's playing tight games. I'm taking Tennessee.
I would take Tennessee as well. I think Heupel, it may be a backdoor cover late in the game, Alabama up 14, something like that. And then Heupel just continues to come down. Alabama's playing prevent defense, gives up a late one to win the game. But this looks like a backdoor cover. I think Alabama's in control most of the game, but Heupel, they can throw the ball around the yard.
They can. Something to watch, though, is Tennessee's quarterback throws a lot of interceptions. I think he threw 18 or 19 last year when he was at App State. He's prone to throw interceptions, and if you're going to win the game at Alabama, you got to take care of the ball. So that's something that I would watch for in that game. But again, I just think 8.5 is still too much to give a Tennessee team that can score. I'm going to skip my next two because those are my two. We'll get to those last. Let's go to the NFL, where the Colts, one of the best stories in the NFL this season. They can run the ball. Daniel Jones is playing at a Pro Bowl level, which has surprised a lot of people. Their defense is scrappy. They're going to the Chargers. The Chargers have got up to a great start, but they've been kind of decimated with injuries. They lost their two best offensive linemen. They've lost guys on defense. They've lost their running back, Amarian Hampton, and Najee Harris. So that they're on their third and fourth string running backs. The Chargers are at home, laying 1.5 to the Colts.
Colts have one of those seasons going, getting their running back and getting a guy like Tyler Warren, healthy and out there.
No, not Tyler Warren. You're talking about
the Colts.
For the Colts. Warren's on Steelers. We were just talking about.
Not Tyler Warren. Warren. Yes, his last name's Warren.
No. Why am I now not thinking of it? The great running back for the Colts.
He's a tight end.
Oh, I thought you were talking about their running back. I'm sorry, you are right. I thought you were talking about the running back for the Colts.
No, I'm talking about the Penn State tight end.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's him.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Warren
he's a beast.
He's been. Daniel Jones likes to throw to tight ends, and he's a guy that can create mismatches, as we pointed out before the draft, all over the place.
Yep.
I'm not saying the Colts are 5-0 because of Tyler Warren. I'm saying Daniel Jones has meshed well with that, but their running back has. He before he got hurt was arguably the best running back in the game, and running all over the place. And then the injury happened, and now he's back and healthy. And they have a great 1-2 punch combination. Going on the road, that's what you need. Defensively, it's helped them as well because they're not on the field as much when you're controlling the clock and running the ball. With those two players and Daniel Jones not making mistakes. That's kind of what Harbaugh wants to play over in San Diego or LA now. But that's the type of offense that they run in Indianapolis. They have a good offensive line.
Jonathan
Taylor's healthy. I like the Colts again, just because of, Warren and Taylor, that 1-2 combination. Daniel Jones didn't turn the ball over.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think that the Chargers are just banged up, and I think that Herbert's having a good season. But I just think the injuries they've got, this is a different team than what we saw at the beginning of the year when they beat Kansas City to open the season. The Colts are 5-1. The one loss was on the road, but I do think they go to LA, get it done. So we're on the same side there. Washington at Dallas. Which whenever you hear Washington and Dallas, you think all the way back when we were kids, the Redskins against the Cowboys and were always great games. Washington, Jaden Daniels is back, seems to be back to being healthy. They've been without their best receiver, McLaurin, for the last few games, and I don't think he's going to play this week either. Debo's banged up. He played last week, but his heel's banged up a little bit, so I don't know how healthy he'll be for this. Cowboys coming off a loss to the Panthers. And by the way, Washington's laying 1.5 in this game at Dallas. I just think Dallas's defense is awful. I think it's the worst defense in the NFL. I think we're going to see a game similar to what we did with the Panthers, where both teams are going to score. But I think Washington's better on the defensive side. And I think Washington laying 1.5 is a give me. And I'm taking Washington.
I love their quarterback and what the way he's played. He's a guy that is smooth. He never feels like he's rushed. They can score. They found a running game, last week, and I think they're starting to find their rhythm on offense. They're old on defense. They're sporadic. Bobby Wagner is a guy that can make plays from sideline or from tackle to tackle. I think he's lost the ability to go sideline to sideline. But Dallas can score. They can spread the field out. They have one receiver. And
CeeDee Lamb's coming back this week, so that's going to help.
CeeDee Lamb, that's different. That'll help Dallas.
Yep.
And you could be the difference in the game, quite frankly.
No doubt.
Honestly, it opened up a lot of things, especially running the football. So what's the spread on this?
Washington laying 1.5.
At Washington?
No, it's in Dallas.
Oh, gosh. You see CeeDee Lamb coming back. I'm going to have to go with Dallas on this one, just because of what you just said. I think he's worth 2 points, 3 points, and the way he opens up things. Pickens, has shown that he can be the man while he's gone. He can carry the load. He could do it. And for the Steelers back when he was playing there, he's just, for the 10 good plays, he's going to have one bonehead play that's going to kill you. But, CeeDee Lamb could be the difference maker for this game. And, they're going to score a lot of points. Can Washington keep up?
Here's a game, again, in the NFL that's two of the best teams in the NFC. The Tampa Bay Bucks travel to the Lions. Detroit's a different team at home. Again, both of these teams have a lot of injuries as well. I mean, the Bucks are down.
Detroit always seems to be hurt.
They do. Then their secondary is banged up, and we saw that. Mahomes had a field day. But the Bucks are down receivers. They're down offensive linemen. Both these teams come in banged up, but the Lions at home score points. And Baker Mayfield right now, I mean, if you ask me who would be my leader in the clubhouse for the MVP right now, it's Baker. He's just winning games, and they're getting 5.5 points in Detroit, where you're going to have to score a lot, because at home Detroit, they're going to run the ball, they're going to throw the ball, and they're healthy on offense. But 5.5 points, again, to me, to a Bucks team that has won on the road. They've won close games on the road, where Baker's come back against the Texans. He's come back against Seattle. They've won against two good teams on the road there. I just think 5.5 is too many points. I'm taking Baker and the Tampa Bay Bucks.
If you could play for any coach in the NFL, who you playing for? I mean, Detroit's going to be up there, right?
I mean, I think he's number one.
Right.
Andy Reid probably number 2.
Andy Reid, Detroit's head coach, with the way he is honest, the way he's open, and the way his players play
aggressive,
hard.
just aggressive.
The way his players play hard. Detroit got screwed royally last week, where he came out in the press conference and called, the NFL had put them on blast for the way that game was reffed, and the turnovers and the favoritism shown towards Kansas City.
The one play that you're referring to is the touchdown where Goff actually caught the touchdown pass, fought his way into the end zone, and then they go to a replay in New York or something that wasn't even there at the field that overturned it, which now everyone's looking at saying, no, that should have been a touchdown. And again, that just goes into the whole Kansas City and getting a lot of calls, which, it seems that every game that just adds to that theory.
Jack Campbell has, Dan Campbell has blatantly, openly called them out. And he's not the only coach. San Francisco, has done the same, with Shanahan saying a very similar thing about the reffing. Something has got to be done about this. I don't think that they're going to allow Detroit to get screwed over twice. And there may be some, what do you call it?
Favoritism?
Some not ramifications, retribution paid towards Detroit this week. But, as you point out, Baker Mayfield is taking this team, put it on his shoulders, and won. I think I showed you guys, maybe I showed it to the high school coaches, a highlight reel of Baker Mayfield and him coming through college, and his bravado and the way he plays the game is he's balls to the wall, full speed ahead. He's going to talk smack. He got hurt in a game where he was running the ball. He laid there for like 2 seconds and nope, I'm not going to show vulnerability or weakness to my opponent, and got up and started barking at the guy, after he hit him. And he is that dog. He is a guy that you want your quarterback to be in the way he plays. He plays hard. He's aggressive. He's gonna talk the talk, but he's gonna walk the walk. And He gets you fired up he gets me fired up as an ex-player. I can't imagine what he's doing for their team, but I just think Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions are at home the best offense in the NFL, and I don't think the Bucs are going to be able to keep up with them offensively.
All right, we got another different one there. All right, now we're going to do the Panthers Jets, and then we'll go to our 2 picks each. Carolina, we talked about this game earlier in the show. Travel to New York, take on the winless Jets. Carolina's laying 1.5. We talked about the Panthers' lack of wins on the road under Bryce Young. We've talked about them not being used to being a favorite on the road. I told you that this game worries me because the Jets have been in a lot of games against good teams and just not been able to finish. If this game was somebody like, let's say, the Falcons, or that might be too good for team, the Giants, I don't know, a team that hasn't been good in a while, like the Panthers, I probably would be all over the Jets on this one because I just feel they're due to get one. But I'm drinking some of the Kool-Aid right now with the Panthers playing well, with the way they're running the ball, the way the offensive line's playing, getting Coker back, the way that Canal and Bryce seem to be in a rhythm together. I don't think this is a game that the Panthers will get into a big hole, just because I don't think the Jets can score enough to put them in a big hole. So I think this is going to be a grinded out game. And I trust Bryce in the fourth quarter because of what he's done at home. I think it finally translates on the road, and I've got the Panthers winning a close game to go to 4-3 and a winning record for the first time in a long time.
The last time the Panthers were 500 was 2021 at 5-5. Right, 2021 at 5. I think that was Sam Darnold as quarterback.
Yeah, because they started off. I think they started off 3-0 that year.
0-3 or 3, or whatever it was.
They started off 3-0.
Lost. Bryce came in. I don't remember how the whole thing came back, and then he got back, whatever it was, and they were 5-5.
Yep.
That's the last time they've been 500. The first time they've been 500 since. They have not been over 500 since well before that. It might have been Cam Newton as the quarterback here for this team the last time they were above 500. Which might go back to like 2017, 2018. It's been a while since they've been above 500. And I don't think things are going to change. What's the number one thing you see? If you could look at those, what's the one thing that stands out? 1-15. 1-15.
Yep.
1-15. Well, you can go ahead and put another number on the 6. The 1-16 is going to happen for the Panthers.
Taking the Jets.
I'm taking the Jets at 1-15. Even though they're 0-5, 0-6, they're going to be 1-6, and the Panthers are going to be 1-16.
Oh, well, I hope that if I win any game on this list this weekend, I hope that's the one that I win. I hope the Panthers can.
I hope I'm wrong.
I know. And look, the Panthers have to get over that hurdle if they're going to be a good football team.
I'm going with the numbers.
Yeah.
I'm going with the stats.
I couldn't argue with it. All right, now we'll go to our 2 games each, and I'll go 1, you go 1. The first game I'm taking is Purdue at Northwestern. Northwestern's laying 2.5. They're 4-2. I was at the Penn State game when Northwestern beat them, which led to Franklin getting fired. Northwestern surprised me. Northwestern's always they're like a Duke, right? Like they'll have a nice season here and there. They have some nice players here and there.
They're literally like Duke. They're the smartest team in the Big Ten.
Right. But I was impressed with their quarterback play. I was impressed with their running backs. On defense, I thought that they were a lot better than I thought. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was still shocked that they beat Penn State, and I think everybody in that stadium was as well. But Purdue's not very good. And Northwestern, to me, is playing with a lot of confidence right now. To me, with that spread being under a field goal, Northwestern at home, I'm taking Northwestern as one of my.
Northwestern over Purdue.
Yep. I had to dig deep.
Don't know anything about Northwestern.
Had to dig deep.
That's the game of the week. That's the DJ special.
Well, that's my college one, and then I got a pro one later. But now let's go to yours, and we'll start with your college one as well. You're picking the Tar Heels travel to Cal. Cal's -8. We all know it's been well documented what a debacle and disaster the Tar Heel season has been thus far. Is Belichick leaving? Is he not leaving? Is their GM over in Saudi Arabia trying to raise money? They said now for the football program.
Where's the hot girlfriend?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what the hell's going on there.
She might be over there with him.
She might be, but they've been a mess. Cal, has had games where they've surprised us, and then they've had games where they've gotten their butts whooped. So neither one of these teams are very good. Cal's laying 8. This is your first of your 2.
Yeah. Normally, I mean, these teams are about equal when you look at the history and tradition of North Carolina and Cal. Cal's been good over the years at times. And there's been other times where they look like the worst team in the Pac-12, Pac-10 back when, I was there. But, North Carolina is a disaster right now. I can't imagine what it's like to be playing for you. You probably have your best players wanting out so quickly because Belichick is gone. That this team is in disarray. And the last thing you want to do, we go to California, you want to go to Disneyland. You don't want to go play a football game. So, the Tar Heels are going to play like they're at Disneyland, and Cal will beat them by 3 touchdowns.
Wow, Lane 8, you got Cal as your pick. All right, now we go to the NFL. My game in the NFL, Philly goes to Minnesota. Philly coming off a butt whooping to the New York Giants. Philly still with only 2 losses this year. Giants and Denver.
Something's wrong. Something's happening in Philly right now.
No doubt.
And, it may be their stagnant offense. It may be they're trying to just play conservative. They know this is a marathon, not a sprint. They don't want to get guys hurt early, but something's happening in Philly right now.
I agree. And going on the road to Minnesota, Minnesota's been really good at home. Minnesota's defense hasn't been quite what it was last year. J.J. McCarthy.
Minnesota is arguably the toughest or second toughest place to play in the entire NFL because of the noise factor there.
Yep, very loud. And I do agree with you that something in Philly is not right. I don't know what it is, but I got to watch him play live in New York last week, and Jalen Hurts is missing wide open receivers.
Guys aren't giving effort at the receiver. They're very vanilla on offense. AJ Brown isn't running routes like he typically does. He's not running after the catch. He's catching the ball falling down. They're not giving the effort on their stagnant play. It feels like they just leaned on their quarterback sneak for execution on 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, and gone away from everything else.
Well, I think they get right this weekend. I think going to Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy will be making a start again, basically a rookie, after missing the season last year. In the short sample we've seen of him this year early on, he's had some great moments, but he's also been very inconsistent. And I think Philly is probably looking to rebound after getting embarrassed on national TV by the New York Giants. And I've got Philly laying the 2.5 as my second pick. And then your second game going to the NFL, we've got the 49ers traveling to the Falcons. Falcons coming off a big win last week. Their defense is ranked, I think, top 5 in the NFL. They're getting after the quarterback. Penix is doing enough to get it going. You hand the ball off to Bijan Robinson, who, if he's not the best running back in football right now, he's certainly in the conversation. And who you got there? 49ers are laying 2, by the way. It surprised me that they're laying points in Atlanta, with the injuries the 49ers have. They just lost Fred Warner, their best player on defense for the year. Bosa is already out. Quarterback, has been in and out, but Mac Jones has played great in his absence.
Matt Jones and Brock Purdy are the same guy, right? And the offense hasn't lost a beat because of the quarterback play, in my opinion. Purdy may be a little bit more elusive, a little bit more athletic. Matt Jones, every time he gets tackled, look like his pants are going to fall off. Right? I think sometimes they have, and nobody wants to see that. So they still have the one guy that is the biggest difference maker. And I know Bijan Robinson is a pretty good player, but Christian McCaffrey is the difference maker in this game. The Texas routes that he runs out of the backfield will be a bad matchup for Atlanta. He can run the ball between tackles. They have enough playmakers where they go to Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta is very good. I don't think our division is very good at all. I think the NFC West is a much more competitive division, and I think San Francisco handles business on the road at Atlanta.
I hope you're right, because as a Panther fan, we'd love to see the Falcons lose and hopefully Panthers get a W. We will be back on Monday. I want to thank Big D for everything he does today, keeping Frank and I in line and having to listen to our conversations before and after the show, which he's learning a lot about life and what to do and not to do. But we'll be
listen to me. That's what you need to do. Listen to me.
Yeah, that's what gets us in trouble. But we'll be back Monday to go through all these games. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. If you're still on social media, we'd love to see your thoughts on the Lamar Jackson versus Michael Vick poll. We'll leave that up all day today, so we'd love to see that, and we'll give everybody what results we had on Monday.
Mine's unanimous. I got one guy out of 15 guys, 20 guys that have picked.
Well, on Twitter, Twitter's a little different,
Twitter.
But there's a lot of time
How
to
many,
go.
That's a different demographics right there.
That's what
Facebook's an older demographic.
Well, that's what I said
Twitter's a
earlier.
younger demographic.
No doubt.
Facebook's undefeated.
And that'll also be interesting to see what stays with that. So, check out our poll. We'd love to see what you think. And we'll be back Monday to go through these games and hopefully a Panther victory Monday. Everybody have a good weekend.